Okay, so tonight we are going to be doing Diablo 4 build creation and reviews, and we're just going to be deep diving into Diablo 4 builds. We're going to be using Diablo or d4builds.gg. I've talked about this before on stream. We've used the site before, but we're going to deep dive into these, and it's going to be a weird video. It's going to be weird conversations, I'm sure. There's going to be a lot of jokes and laughs with the guild. It's not going to be a very structured video in terms of what we say and talk about. But I want to at least start off with an example that's a little bit more structured. I'm going to create a build from the very beginning, and I'm going to tell you how I'm going to make this build and why I'm going to do this build. I am Barbarian main. I know all classes at least somewhat, but Barbarian is my main class. I'm going to be playing hardcore right off the bat. Going hardcore, and I know most about Barbarian, and most of my 200 hours or so in beta was Barbarian. Pretty crazy to think we already spent around 200 hours of actual gameplay. So we're going to be doing Barbarian off the bat, and my build is more around party play. I already have builds saved. I already have a couple saved there. A Berserk double swing build and a Barbarian bleed build. Those are the two builds I'm going to be going with and thinking about. But I said, let me make a third build just in case there's a day one patch that nerfs everything I want to do. Who knows? Could happen, right? We could see patch notes an hour before. Preload available the day before. By the way, here's day one patch. And we're looking at it and we're like, wow, they really nerfed what I want to do. My bleed build got wrecked. So making some backup builds. But here we go. We're going to get started here on what we are going to do in terms of the Barbarian build. I'm going to disable Dark Reader on here because that kind of messes up the site. So looking at the skill tree in this format, which is obviously what we're going to get in the real game, there's also the list view, which is pretty cool. But we're going to look at it as it is in game because it is important to look at it that way, right? So we can see what it unlocks. When we use Upheaval, I'm going to be going with an Upheaval build. I really, really like Frenzy. I like Frenzy. Almost every one of my builds utilizes Frenzy, except for the Bleed build. And the reason for that is this, the damage reduction. It's a 24% damage reduction. Like I said, I play hardcore. All of the builds I make can be adjusted for softcore. You know, you pretty much take a hardcore build that has high survivability and you tweak a little bit here and there and get more damage. That's pretty much what makes it a softcore build, right? That's the difference between hardcore and softcore. Hardcore, you stay alive more. Softcore, you don't really care too much if you die, so you can make more risky adjustments, such as, well, berserking. You know, you get the additional attack speed. We're going to go damage reduction. That's one of the reasons why I really, really love Frenzy. And I think the most important place to start with a build is in this tree, the skill tree. We want to know, what the heck are you using in this build? That's important, because if you don't have that down, when you go to the Paragon system, are you going to pick up the bleed nodes even though you're going Upheaval? It's like, you got to know. You got to know what your mindset is. What are you going to use? Because as far as we all know, everything can work. We don't know. No one does. No one does. No one has very, very distinct information on what endgame is going to look like. We don't know. We could pick up a legendary or a unique at the end of the game that completely changes everything and makes Whirlwind crazy. I know we data mined a lot of stuff. We data mined uniques, but who knows what's out there? Who knows if there's changes that come before the game launches? So we're making multiple builds. We're looking at Upheaval right now. Frenzy, damage reduction, and it builds up Fury very quickly. It increases your attack speed a lot, and it builds up Fury, gives you your damage reduction. And one of the reasons why we want something with high attack speed, an ability you can use very, very quickly, is because of this. Dealing direct damage to an enemy with a skill that is not Upheaval causes your next Upheaval to deal 3% increased damage, stacking up to 10 times. That used to be 8%. They nerfed the crap out of that. It used to be 80% increased damage. Now it's 30% at max stacks. Still good. However, you could decide to say, hey, I'm going to go berserking this time. That's what I'm going to do. Frenzy's still incredible to help keep you alive, but I'm actually going away from this highly nerfed talent. It's still probably good, 30%. It's okay. It's all right. But we're going to be making a berserking build that relies on Upheaval. This is similar to my double swing build, but it does not use double swing, obviously, to keep berserking up. Double swing allows you to gain 2 additional seconds of berserking if you cast it while you are berserking. Cool thing is you can cast that and hit nobody, and it still adds 2 seconds. There is situations where I have done it where it seems like the right thing to do to try to keep it up while you're going to the next pack. But this is about Upheaval. If Upheaval damages at least 2 enemies, you gain Berserking for 2 seconds. It is increased to 3 seconds if it damages at least 4 enemies. So Upheaval, if you don't know, it's like that rock attack where your Barbarian will lift his weapon, so Rock Slide will go out in a conical effect and like spread outwards and hit a good pack of enemies. It's nice for crowd clearing. One of the reasons why I likely will not use this build is because I'm going to be running in a party of 4, and I'm going to be the person that's going to be big single target DPS. So the Blood or the Double Swing, Bleed build or Double Swing is likely where I'm going to go, but I'm still going to build this because I think this is an excellent build if you plan to play Barbarian alone or with another player. This is probably good for like 2 players or less, where you still want a good crowd clear, right? This is good. I think this is going to be an excellent build, but I'm going to go on. I'm going to go faster in this. It's up to you how you want to, what abilities you wish to use in the end. But keep in mind, we have 6 abilities. We already used 2. So how are you going to use the remaining 4 slots? You can go for 3 shouts. Certainly can. I don't think it's very appropriate in this build. You can, but we're not going to go super shout build. We're going to go with Rallying Cry because the movement speed and resource generation is just incredible. We're going to grab the additional Rallying Cry resource generation, as well as, of course, Unstoppable, which is very, very important in hardcore. You don't want to be stunned to death, right? Very, very important. We also want 15% life. That is massive. Going on, Warcry is optional. You don't need it, but it's another way to get Berserking up. I like keeping Berserking up. It's the whole point of this build. We're going to have a lot of Berserking modifiers in our build. I think this is very, very important to pick up. I would recommend picking that one up. Now, we are playing hardcore, so you can either go damage bonus or you can go for Fortify. I'm going Fortify because I like staying alive. Now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 skills picked, right? Mobility is huge. I'm dying to try to get Leap into my other build. I can't really justify it, but for this build, we're going to do it. We're going to put in Leap for mobility reasons, for leveling. However, if you are playing solo, you don't have to worry about keeping up with your team. You can go at your own pace. You're not really into speed running. You could drop Leap and grab something like Deathblow to have increased damage for bosses. It'll deal double damage here to bosses. It's very, very, very good. And if Deathblow damages at least 1 enemy, you gain Berserking. So it's another way to gain Berserking. So you could say, I'm not going to grab Leap. I'm going to grab Deathblow at the end of this. Now, your choice on what you want to do with this skill point. I'm going to put an extra skill point here to get to this next thing. You could pick up Deathblow. You could pick up Leap. It's up to you. The build could even work without both of those abilities, but obviously you want to use all 6 slots. So pick one. What do you want to do? Do you want to do more damage to bosses? You want to be more mobile? And you know, you could potentially use this to escape death as well. If something's going to slam down on you, you're trying to get out of there, and a normal dash isn't going to work, or it's on cooldown, you can leap out of there. It's viable for that as well. I'm going to pick up Deathblow here. Sorry, I got distracted here. Someone told me my audio is doubled on stream. I don't believe that's true. Anyway, Deathblow, we're going to pick it up. I say Deathblow is increased by double, and if Deathblow damages at least 1 enemy, we're gaining Berserk. So we have 3 sources of Berserking if we take Deathblow, 2 if we take Leap, and we don't take Deathblow. Now you're saying, what do you mean you could take both? Yeah, you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be all your 6 abilities. However, Wrath of the Berserker is our final ability. I don't even take ultimates in my other builds, but if you are going a Berserking specific build, you must take Wrath of the Berserker. Sure, you could say I'm not going to take it. Okay, fine. But the benefit of it is just absolutely incredible. I'll show you why. We're going to grab some Fortify specific nodes here. Extra damage reduction. We're going to pick up, we gain Fortify as we take damage. We're also going to pick up Pit Fighter here. 9% increased damage to close enemies and 6% reduced damage taken from distant enemies. We're going to pick up the other Fortified node for extra damage while we have Fortify. And of course, we're going to pick up Wrath of the Berserker, which Explode into a rage, knocking back surrounding enemies, gaining berserking, and unstoppable for 5 seconds, meaning we can't be stunned, CC'd. Very, very important. For the next 10 seconds, dealing direct damage with basic skills grants berserking for 5 seconds. So we're going to constantly have berserking up during the use of Wrath of the Berserker. In addition to that, Wrath of the Berserker is active. You gain 20% increase in movement speed and increase fury generation by 30%. While Wrath of the Berserker is active, every 50 fury you spend increases Berserk's damage bonus by 25%. Incredible, right? Absolutely incredible. Then, increase Berserk's maximum duration by 5 seconds and increase its damage bonus by 25%. So while we're Berserk, we're doing even more damage. We have Berserk up longer, and these things kind of combo together to help increase Berserk's duration. Your Upheaval, when it hits multiple targets, at least 2 enemies, you get 2 seconds. If it hits at least 4 enemies, you get 3 seconds. Then maybe you use your Shout, you get another, you get some more Berserking, you Death Blow an enemy, you get more berserking there, and those they don't stack to increase the damage of berserking or its effect, but it's increasing its duration. And that final talent there, that keystone passive here that increases it to 5 seconds, will really help you keep berserking going as much as possible. And believe it or not, it is important to your survivability as well, because we will grab some berserking stuff on the Paragon tree that will help us stay alive. Now, we have additional 23 points remaining. We want to up our main skill, Upheaval. We want to maximize that for sure. Now we're going to pick some of our nodes here, look back, and there's a lot of area for customization here, At this point in the tree, you can almost choose whatever you want to do. Now, because we're not getting a form to heal. We're not getting anything that heals. I know Rupture can heal you when you use it. You get 15% of your maximum life. We don't have anything to heal. In Hardcore, we try not to use our potions, right? We try not to use them. We want to try to avoid using them, stay healthy, keep our health up without having to constantly use our potions. Because if you're fighting in a long fight and you take a hit and you're down to 50% health, you're like, I'm going to pop a potion. I'm at 50% health. It's risky to keep fighting at this health. I'm going to pop a potion. So you're not getting one shot. That happens again. And maybe you get some potion charges. Now all of a sudden you're down you're at 4 potions instead of 5 maybe it's somewhat early game. And that keeps happening. And before the fight ends, you're out of potions. That's scary. That's very scary. And because of that, the reason why I'm talking about this is because I want to talk about some sources of healing. Here we have 3% of our maximum life per second as long as we're affected by a shout. We do have 2 shouts in our build, and this passive here increases the duration of shouts. So it'll increase the duration of shouts, and while shouts are active, we heal for 3% of our health per second. This also affects allies, affects teammates. So if you're running with a group, or at least one person, they're going to benefit from it as well. It's worthwhile. Trust me, I've tested it in boss fights that are quite tough, such as the Butcher or something, and you can kite around, allow those shouts to heal you up if you're out of potions or you're just trying to save some potions. Very, very important. Movement speed. Love that. Love that talent there, that passive. Very, very good. And the next one is to reduce crowd control and pairing effects. Very good. You don't have to take this one. I think they're both optional, highly optional. Honestly, every passive is really optional. If you want to rely on potions, go for it. I think it's a little bit more risky, but the movement speed, it's good. It's good. You don't need it. It's good though. This is the one I would say probably is not optional. 15% maximum life is massive. You need that. It also affects how much health you're going to have coming back because you're healing for a percentage of your health. It's important. I highly recommend grabbing it. And then I like to grab this one here. 9% damage reduction to elites. This also affects all bosses in the game. The end, like dungeon bosses, the end story chapter bosses, the world bosses, they are also affected by everything that says against elites. Big tip for you right there. Just a tip. I promise you that works. I've tested it. It's also, I believe it's even in a loading screen tip. Don't quote me on that. I've seen it somewhere. It does work. If it says elites, it also affects bosses. That's 9% reduced damage you take. That is good. That's massive. Very, very important. Now, it's up to you where you want to spend the rest of your points. You can go for crit damage. You want to go for like a crit in your build. You can get a little bit more damage there. We can add vulnerable to our enemies. Maybe you're running completely alone and you don't have an ally to proc vulnerability. Vulnerability is great. Makes enemies take a 20% additional damage. Important. It's nice. That's core skills will apply it. So as you upheaval a crowd, you might proc up vulnerable on a few enemies there. And then, of course, you can increase your likelihood of gaining vulnerability based off of some stuff in the Paragon tree. You don't have to use that. Completely up to you. I like it though. I like it. Very, very important to me. This is my last one. I usually say it's kind of a must-have. I know I'm bouncing all over again, all over the tree, but I'm doing that because I like to kind of do things in sections. This one here, more survivability. If you're playing softcore, you probably don't take this. Honestly, you probably don't take this at all in softcore. Your shouts cause enemies to deal 12% less damage for 5 seconds. Huge. Huge passive tree, passive ability, because you're going to be using 2 shouts. I have a build that I used all 3 shouts in, and I'm going to be cycling them to always keep heals up and always keep the damage reduction on enemies going. That's massive. Helps teammates stay alive as well. It works on bosses, makes them do reduced damage. That is very, very good stuff. So I got 2 points remaining. It's really up to you what you want to do. Attack speed increase while using one-handed weapons. This isn't bad either. You can grab that because Frenzy itself runs on two one-handers, and increased attack speed equals more Fury generation, which means more upheavals. It's good. You can do that. I do not think putting extra points in Frenzy is all that great. It only gains 2% per additional point, and I'll show you real quick. When you max it, it does 28% damage with each pair of hits, or goes down to 20 at the base. Now, it's not bad because as you level this to max, it's 28 damage for each weapon that hits, right? So that's not just 8% increase, that's 16% increase because you're hitting with both weapons. You know, it's doing 28 per hit rather than 20 per hit. It's not bad. It's okay. So if you're trying to do absolute maximum damage possible, yeah, you could put the extra points in Frenzy. Me, I'm more about using as much upheavals as possible, as many upheavals as I can. The 2 extra points in the one-handed weapons is not bad. Not bad at all. Definitely viable. Upheavals, like I said, it's more about crowd clearing, damaging ability. You're not going to be doing absolute max DPS with this, but re-rolling from this later on is completely acceptable. You can go from this build and you're going berserking, right? You're going a berserking build with this. You could transition over to my double swing berserking build, which I already have saved and created. You can transition over to that because essentially you'll be using the same paragons. And one thing I really like about the way I do something in a paragon, I'll show you, is I pick a paragon board that could work for every build as the first board. You're going to be quite far in the game by the time you make the decision to swap off that, if you do. And that's the amazing thing. I'm going to show you. Exactly what I'm talking about. So I know this Paragon tree very well for Barbarians. I've already spent many, many hours in this thing. We're going to go both sides of this tree. I'll show you. So 50 armor, life, armor. Very, very important stuff. Physical damage and life, more physical damage. Now, you can choose, it's completely up to you. Do you want to grab willpower or strength? That will technically, not technically, it really does matter what you pick here in the glyph socket. We're going to close this so we can get the glyphs to pop up. It really matters what you pick here. If you pick anything that's based off a stat, you will want to pick, this is just an example I picked, as you see the red here, it's going to cover these 2 nodes. If you pick something that goes off willpower, you should probably pick the left side. If you pick something that goes off strength, probably pick the right. It's additional 5 of that stat. Now, there's willpower on the right as well, so you could kind of do something like this. You're going to end up with strength anyway, it doesn't matter. You could do something like that, pick up as much willpower as possible if you're going with the willpower node. That's something you'll come back to change later on in the tree, later on in the game, because as you level up your glyphs, they benefit more and more from stats. So that 5 in dexterity, for instance, does 1.5% increased damage. These glyphs can be leveled. So as they level, that 5 dexterity becomes much more impactful than a single 5% damage node here. 5% damage node right now off the bat, you're not going to beat that. You're not going to beat that with a single attribute node. It's just not going to happen. But later on, believe it or not, if you level your glyphs, you keep your character going for a long time, a single 5 dexterity node will be more than a 5% damage. So you will be coming back later to perfect your character, make little changes like that. That is something to consider. But you'll make a little adjustments as you maybe you go with the strength node and you you pick up as much strength as possible like that, and you go with the strength node. So on the topics of Barbarian specifically, because we're doing a Barbarian build here, personally, I don't like taking glyphs like this that say, for every 5 strength purchased within range, you deal 1.5% increased damage. That's great. While wielding a mace. Problem with that is you're now limited to one weapon type, essentially. You're almost specializing in one weapon. You got to be careful with that, because that will reduce the ability to simply take whatever the best is, whatever the best weapon is at the time, right? That's something to strongly keep in mind about whether or not you want to do that. I'm sorry, I'm just picking the skills here, and then we'll the weapon expertise for Barbarian is really, really cool. There's you pick one that you're not going to use, of a weapon you're not going to use, and then you'll get a benefit of the one you're not using as well as the weapon you're using. So for instance, 2-hand mace, lucky hit, up to a 10% chance to gain 2 fury when hitting an enemy, double the amount of fury gained while berserking. You deal 15% increased critical strike damage to stunned vulnerable enemies while berserking. We have vulnerability and berserking in our build. I'd probably go with something like that to make sure that stays active at all time. But back to the Paragon tree. One of the reasons why I don't like that node again is because now you're specializing in a weapon type. You got to be careful of that, because it's not always going to play out the way you think. Like, I'll just wait until I get a nice 2-hand mace. For any of you guys that play ARPGs, you kind of take what you can get while leveling. Things don't always fall perfectly like that. It doesn't always land exactly as it should, because it's that's the nature of the game, right? That's RNG. I might get a fantastic mace leveling one time. Next time, I don't see one for another 30 levels. It's just how it goes. So be careful with that. Off the bat, take a look at this here. There's a lot of nodes that do bonus like that. A lot of glyphs that do a bonus where it grants 40% bonus to all magic nodes within range, and then an additional bonus down at the bottom. This one's while wielding one-handed weapons. There's a lot of nodes that do that do the 40% additional strength to magic, and I think that's the right move to start out. This one's kind of cool. Grants 40% bonus to all magic nodes. After casting a shout skill, the active cooldown of every other shout skill is reduced by 1.2 seconds. That's not bad. It's better when you're using 3 shouts, but we do have 2 shouts in our build, so it's not bad. And our shouts are good. They're very important. Movement speed, resource generation. They help us heal. They increase our damage, the other shout, and it also pops berserking. I would consider a node like that. That's probably a good move here. I'll just put that there in the time being, and we'll take a look at anything else that might be acceptable. There are big damage ones. Overpowers massive damage. It says pretty much, if you don't overpower for 30 seconds, your next attack will overpower. It's kind of nice to run into a fight and start an upheaval. That's going to guarantee an overpower. An overpowered upheaval will essentially one-shot everyone except for bosses. It's a huge amount of damage, but we're not just about damage here. Like I said, we're going hardcore build. We need to take into account damage reduction as well. And that's when we see here, you gain 10% damage reduction the more fortify you have. We do have a couple things for fortify. We get fortify when we take damage. We get fortify when we shout. That is a great one as well for damage reduction. But I'm intentionally going to avoid that one for now, and I'm going to go with this one for the 40% bonus to all magic nodes. Completely optional. You don't have to do this now. I do like it, especially with a 3-shout build. I love it. The 1.2 second cooldown reduction and everything else. But the main thing here is the 40% bonus to all magic nodes within range. That affects all of these blue nodes. And if you look at the blue nodes, they have the armor, physical damage, dexterity. It's not bad. It's a good nodes to take. But let's say you don't have this. Let's say you don't have that glyph available. We'll go with the fortify one, and we'll try to make it work. We'll try to make anything work, because that's the nature of leveling, right? We don't guarantee that we have everything that we want as we're leveling, right? We've already kind of been over that. We'll pick something, and I'll show you that we can make it work either way. Okay, we're gonna pick this one. Almost at random. For every 5 dexterity you purchase within range, you deal 2% increased damage to close targets, and you gain 10% damage reduction against close targets. That requires 25 dexterity down at the bottom. We're going to make it work though, right? I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. So, obviously you're going to look, we got to close the gap to that glyph. There's dexterity here and here. We need 25. Let's see if we can make this work. Ready? So we're going to go, we want to try to save points, right? So we're going to pick those, and we're going to keep an eye on this. We need 5 nodes of dexterity no matter what. So we're going to come up here anyway, but let's say we connect this. We pick up that glyph, and we're going to pick up this dexterity here, that dexterity there. That's 5, 10, 15. This will cover our 25. So it's 14, 19. And one of the things I really dislike about these magic nodes, obviously you pick them up. I don't like that they reduce the amount of nodes you need to take for 25 dexterity to work. They don't, because you still need 5 nodes. You got 14, you got 19, 24. You still need this one, right, to hit 25. That's a kind of crappy. I don't like the way they did that, but it is the way it is. We have to take 5 nodes for now. There are nodes or glyphs that also require 40 of a stat. That's when the 7 come into play a little bit more, but for now they don't. So we're going to pick up all of these nodes here. 5% increased physical damage to dexterity, the physical damage, strength, physical damage again. Like I said, we do like these nodes early on in the game. We want to take 50 armor, 100 armor here, 50 armor. That's important early on. That's something we desperately need. This one's intelligence. I personally like picking up the dexterity, the strength, the willpower, rather than going out left for the intelligence. Now, all right. I was talking about how I pick a second board that can work for any build. And it can. Any barbarian build should start essentially like this. The glyph might change a little bit. Maybe you want to go with a berserking glyph right off the bat, or a bleed glyph. If you're soft core, you don't really care about the damage reduction. Sure, that could change. That's fine. And then obviously it might say for the additional bonus you need 25 strength. So you change how you pick these rather than picking up the dexterity, right? So this board should essentially be the same almost to the T for every barbarian build. Now, there is a legendary node. I personally think almost every single legendary, and this almost applies to every class, is garbage. Almost. So don't flip out like, oh, he's out of his mind. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's true. They're pretty poor compared to even a glyph. Like, a legendary node should be the best, right? It should be the best, period. It's legendary. But these nodes are actually better than legendary glyphs, or legendary nodes. And there's one exception to that for the Barbarian. One exception, and that is this one. This one here. We do have Fortify things in our tree. Fortify helps keep us alive. Fortify increases the damage we do because of the passes we took on a tree. This is the best legendary node for Barbarian. I will fight to the end of the day, or whatever. I'll fight you every day, nonstop, whatever. Come to my stream, curse me off. Don't mind. We'll fight about it. This is the best legendary node in a hardcore mindset. It will keep you Fortify up almost all the time. And there's some stuff that's okay, some nodes, but like while berserking, critical strikes increase your attack speed by 2% up to 10% for 6 seconds. Like, that's not bad. Sure, it's okay. But like, killing a bleeding enemy has a 10% chance to grant berserking for 5 seconds. A 10% chance. With a berserking build, we have so many sources of berserking. We don't need something like that. Even a node, even a build without berserking, that's still not great. I don't even take that in my bleed build. And I'll show you why. I'll show you exactly why. You're like, well, why wouldn't you take that if you could? It's free. It's not. I'll show you why it's not, because we're going to pick this node first. This is the legendary one, and every 75 fury we spend, you get 12% maximum life as fortified. That is huge. Notice something about the legendary node. It is always with a bunch of filler. Always has a lot of filler. And I just picked a second legendary one at random on purpose. And there's a fair amount of filler to get to it. Now, this one's not so bad, because you might come down, or maybe you come down on this end and you cut across and grab it. That's not too bad. Two-handed slashing weapons attacks have an 8% chance to make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. That's not even a great legendary node. This one's not too far out of the way. It's far from the glyph, though. So you're generally like, you run to your glyph nodes, maybe you come down, grab this, and you go up to your glyph and out. That's generally what you do to get the most out of your builds. But a lot of the time, the legendary nodes, like, kind of far out of your way. Kind of far. So as an example, you have a ton of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points to get that node. That's a lot of filler to to reach a legendary node. Here's another one as an example. You come up, maybe you're getting the physical damage here, you're cutting up here, you're grabbing this, the life nodes are excellent, but now it's, what is it? It's you come up here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, another 7 over to a legendary node. It's a lot to spend and a lot to waste getting that. I know it's still stats. Stats are great. We love it. Still makes us stronger, but you are missing out on a lot more magic nodes and rare nodes. And if you chase the legendary nodes, you will miss out on glyphs. Guaranteed. And glyphs level. They're the only thing on the tree that actually levels. You can get glyphs that are stronger than you see here. These are just the base level 1 of the rare glyphs. They level up. I'm telling you right now, heed my words very carefully. The more glyphs you have in your build, the stronger you are going to be. That's like cut and dry. You could pretty much apply that to every class and every build. Glyphs will be king at the end of the game. When you're leveling glyphs and you're doing an extra 7.5% increased damage for every 5 strength, something like that. Like that destroys even the magic nodes of 5% physical damage. It will be king in the end. The only reason I think this node is absolutely worth it is because it's the only real legendary node that grants a ton of survivability to the Barbarian. Helps keep your Fortify up. It is very important. I recommend this board for every single hardcore Barbarian build, no matter what you're going. This should be your second board. And this is what I was talking about before. The way I do my builds for Barbarian, you can make a change very late in the game. Let's say you come over here, you run over here, you're obviously going to go to the glyph, right? We'll pick what that glyph is later, but we're going to pick up our resistances. We're going to shoot over here. It's not going to let us because it wants us to pick a glyph. I'm going to pick a random glyph for now. You're going to grab your physical damage. This is a good point to pick a glyph that relies on strength. Because 10 strength from this rare node, 10 strength from this one. That's 20 right away. You need 40. And on your way to this node, you picked up a bunch of strength. Very, very nice node to pick up a strength bonus. And you can do a 40 strength bonus node here. You can make it work, and it's a lot easier. I know down here we picked our, if I come down, we picked our dexterity one. I relied on dexterity for damage reduction. This is where I chose to put my shout one because it was just so much easier to get it done. We want 40 strength, and we get 40% bonus to magic nodes in the area. That's going to be our physical damage, our resistances, willpower, it's still very good, dexterity, very good. And now we were looking for 40 strength. So we got 10, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. As easy as that. 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40. That is our 40 strength requirement. This is the best part in the Barbarian tree to pick up the 40 strength requirement node. I think this is where you should do it. And we use shouts with almost every build in Barbarian. Me, personally, I use shouts in like every build. I think they're great. They're great for teammates, great for yourself, great for survivability, great for damage, great for movement speed, resource. It's just, they're incredible. They're incredible. So I pick up shouts in every build. So this additional bonus here, reduce the cooldown of shouts. I just take it in every build. I just think it's incredible. It's really, really good. And everyone should be considering that build. This over here. Don't feel bad about not taking these. They're max fury, and they help get fury on kill. They're okay, but generally speaking, the only max fury build I would ever go, the only reason I'd ever chase a max fury node is because of this. Hammer of the Ancients, that does damage. Hammer of the Ancients deals 1% additional damage for each point of fury you have when you use it. We're not taking that. That's not a build we're going. That's very, very high single target damage. We're not taking that. We are going to jet over to the right. And the reason why we're jetting to the right, and you can choose how you want to do this. You want the willpower or you want the strength node? Your choice. We'll take the willpower here, and we'll jet over to the right. And we'll grab some dexterity, some strength. We are coming over here because we like staying alive. It's 2% life, and then there's 8 fury. So you have to take an 8 fury node. You're going to get some anyway. Can't even avoid it, but it's still not bad, right? 2% life, 4% life, and 8 maximum fury, and more maximum fury if you have the 270 willpower. And then we're going to leave it more max fury. We're going out there. So you still get a lot of max fury increase, whether you want it or not. You kind of have to take it. Moving on, Fortify Generation. This will also help the legendary node that we're going to grab. 3.5% fury generation. I'm sorry, fortified generation, damage while fortified, 10% damage, more 6.5% fortified damage, another 10% damage if the 270 willpower is met, which you should get when you have endgame gear. Fortified generation, more damage, more damage. Fortify buffs. How we get fortify, how fast we get it, and what happens when we are fortified. Now we get even more damage bonus. And just having a throwback to the skill tree, remember that we do have extra damage reduction while fortified and extra damage while fortify. So that's all working together. Fortify is huge. And of course, because fortify is so good, we are going to want to take that legendary node that as we spend 75 Fury, we get 12% of our maximum life as fortify. And again, just to show that you're not going to be fighting for fortify too often, because you do have fortify that you're going to be gaining from when you use your Warcry. We're reducing the cooldown of Warcry with that glyph we have. We're getting fortified whenever we take damage. So you have fortify coming in. You have enough of it in this build that you will keep fortify up. Now, at this point, we are close enough to these nodes to pick them up. I think no matter what your build is, you should come here. For hardcore specifically, no matter what you're doing for hardcore, you should pick these nodes up. Now I'm going to pause here. I'm going to hit save build. And I'm going to name this... I'm going to name it Upheaval Barb. Upheave. And we're going to create the build. However, you could create this build as your base barbarian build that works with everything for hardcore. Obviously, the skill tree is going to differ, but Paragon-wise, this should essentially be how you start your barbarian off, period. End of discussion. This is it. This is how you start your barbarian build. And again, I was talking about the way I start my build off. You could make changes at this point. Now, you're way far into the game. Maybe you're like mid-60s or close to 70, level 70 or something at this point, when you reach this part of the Paragon tree. That's a lot of gameplay. It's a lot of time put into your character. By then, you should know what you want to do. Maybe you're changing off Upheaval. Well, okay, change your skill tree. You don't have to change your Paragon tree at all. There's not a damn thing you need to change about it. We put a glyph here that reduces the damage we take when we're close to enemies, increase the damage we deal when we're close to enemies. We're barbarians. We're going to be close to enemies. That's the nature of the character, right? You know why you picked barbarian. You like to be upfront and personal in the face of enemies. You are going to be close to enemies, no matter what, as a barbarian. So that's going to work, no matter what your build is. Shouts. This you would change if you're not going to take shouts. I wouldn't recommend it, but you don't want to take shouts, go for it. But the rest of the Paragon tree remains the same. Now, what are you going to do? I'm going to save this. I know this is already a long recording. This is like 40 minutes. I think this is where I'm going to stop this video. I will do a complete build. If you want the build, you want the link for the full Upheaval build, I will link it to you. But I think this is a good place to stop, because this is your general barbarian build. I explained how I create builds, why I create builds the way I do, and what's in my mind when I'm doing builds. It's all about staying alive in hardcore, right? If you have any questions, concerns, any other builds that you like to do, or any changes you do, I guess, to any build, or specifically the Barbarian, that is certainly fine. Let me know. If you like this video, comments, all that stuff, you know how it goes. Subscribe, like, blah, 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 blah. And I'll catch you guys in the next video with more build videos and a lot more guild discussion when it comes to builds. We're going to do that next. Take a look at the channel for the next video.